everybody. Welcome to What's on My Mind. I'm your host, Victoria Robinson, and you're probably wondering what's she going to talk about today and what's on her mind today. Well, this show is going to be a little bit different than the norm that you might expect, and I'm really excited about it. I'm bringing on a young man who I've known him since he was a little boy. Probably 5 or 6 years old, if not sooner, the first time I met him, because I know his mother and father. I'm big fan of his mom. His dad and I don't know each other as well, but I love his mom, Sue, and his whole family. They're a great family, and they're friends with my daughters as well. So I'm excited to bring Mr. Steven Borden on to talk to everybody about health, fitness, a career he thought he was going to be going down, and something changed. And I just want you to hear from this very successful young man who I think is on the road to big things. And I always tell people him and his wife should be on the cover of every magazine. They're like those beautiful couples that you see and you're like, ugh, I hate them. That's who they are. But here he is, Mr. Steven Borden. Hey, Steven.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. That was quite the intro.
Well, I'm not joking. I literally have told people, look at this couple. I mean, when I see you guys putting up pictures through Instagram, I have literally said to people that I'm around when I've seen them, you guys look at these people. Are those real people? Yes, those are real people. Are they models? No, they're not. They're a married couple. and even their friends are beautiful. It's like it's a prerequisite to hang out with them. So you and your beautiful wife, Giselle, live in California still, right? Okay.
Yep, San Clemente.
And tell me a little bit about who you guys are, and then I want to get into a little bit of your background, where you thought you'd be today and where you are today. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I born and raised most of my life in California, kind of lived all over the place at this point. If you're looking for my wife and I specifically, we met here in California, in San Clemente at the beach through mutual friends, and have now been together for 8 years, married for 6. We live back where we met in San Clemente. It's been kind of a bit of a move all across the country throughout most of our marriage, but we've landed back where we call home now in South Orange County, and are loving it.
How's it going there in California?
It's great.
I mean, are you in a very a kind of separate from all, people hear about California and they automatically assume, oh my gosh, poor guy, he lives in California. But I know I have friends in California, and there are areas in that state that are still very conservative, family values. They're not involved in all the craziness that we sometimes see going on. Is that how it is where you're at?
Yeah, I was just talking to a colleague the other day. He mentioned something about the orange curtain. People will make a comment about, because we're in South Orange County. It's very, beach culture. We live right on the water. There goes one of my lights. And I think that plays into, there's just a laid back vibe. We feel very insulated from some of the madness that's happened in California. Our life has been fairly consistent over the last couple of years. We love it here. We've looked at a bunch of other states. It's hard to leave the mountains and the ocean. And
it's home for you, right? I've got friends that are moving out because they're not in an area, what you're talking about. They're in areas that used to be that way, and they're getting out as fast as they can, but they're still heartbroken. That's been home. That's where they've raised their children, where their families have been from. It's really, really sad to see what's happening, not just California, in the whole country. Steven, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Just turned 30.
Wow. Just like Kendra, my daughter, who I know you're friends with her and Brandon, her husband, and over there in Maui. She just turned 30. Your generation has been faced with so many things that have gone on, but also the things that have happened from when I was 30 to now you're being 30. How have you guys navigated that? How have you seen the difference from your parents raising you and from how the world looks today? I know that you guys don't have children yet. I'm assuming you have to procreate. You guys have to. It should be a requirement for people as beautiful as you two to procreate. But what have you seen, and does that concern you? Are you guys thinking one day you'll have children, and how does that look for you?
Yeah, we've thought a lot about it. And I think you hear two sides. Like there's the side, I've heard this quite a bit. Oh, I don't want to have kids. I don't want to bring them into this messed up world. And I just think, man, that's such a bummer. If you have the perspective that this world is messed up, which for one, I could argue that of course there's plenty of things that are wrong. I think no matter what you believe, you're going to have severe frustrations with the state of the world, even the state of the world 20 years ago. There's always been problems. But I think that perspective is a bit of a downer, just that the world is a messed up place for one. So I would start with the perspective being wrong. And then two, let's say that is true. Wouldn't you want to bring in somebody who you have the opportunity to teach and instill good qualities in and build up to be, who you think is going to make a net positive impact on the world? So yeah, we want to have kids, and we plan on having kids in the near future.
See, and I love that. I love that you're taking a positive spin, because that's kind of my attitude. Yeah, things might look, I've got 10 grandchildren right now, and I think, oh gosh, what's the world going to look like? And then I stop and go, it's going to look great, because my 10 grandchildren are being raised in a way that they're going to be able to make a difference and an impact that's positive. So I love that you kind of turned that around. I was glad to hear you say that, because I think it is sad to hear young people your age, and I'm hearing, because I hear from them all throughout social media, I'm never having kids. What have you guys done to our world? Well, then why don't you guys make it better? If you think my generation has screwed it up so bad, and I'm here to tell you, we haven't done that great of a job. You're right. Your generation can make it better. One of the things that I noticed that when we were talking back and forth about, and I asked you to send me some thoughts that you had, I loved what you wrote about how people are downing marriage, and they're making marriage be something like a chore, or stay away from it. That's, oh yeah. And I love that you put a positive on that as well. Talk to me about, and what's great about with my listeners listening to you is I have a lot of different generations of people that listen. And of course, I'm 58. A lot of people my age, a little bit younger than me, but I want them to hear from people of your generation to understand that there are people because some of them are in my age are like, oh God, the world's over. We're doomed. Look who's coming up. I love to have positive people your age on here saying, nah, we're going to make a difference. We're going to make an impact. So tell me about marriage, what marriage means to you as a 30-year-old man who's been married 6 years. So you got married 24 years old. That's young. From what I know about you guys, you seem to have a pretty strong relationship, and that it's a priority. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, because Giselle and I have had a lot of conversations about this. What is it? Because, we watch, and you're probably familiar with this, like you get married and you kind of start to watch all your friends that got married around the same time as you, not all of them, but different people that start to drop off. It's like, whoa, they just got divorced. Like we're hitting that age now where we're 30 and we've kind of seen some cycles. And so it causes obviously a lot of conversations around, well, why are we happy? What's different, what's going on? And one of the things that we always say back and forth, it's kind of like a running joke between us, is I think both of us always feel like we have the better end of the deal, which sounds weird, but like I look at it, I'm like, I have this wife that does X, Y, and Z, and she's amazing in these ways. And the reverse is true. Like she'll say the same thing back to me, and both of us kind of feel like this is a silly example, but like when it comes to washing dishes, I really don't mind washing them. Hate putting them away. Just can't stand it. So I can wash dishes all day long, but just putting them away, I can't stand it.
It's
and she's the reverse,
right?
Right. Yeah, she's the reverse.
And you're a partnership. So you wash them, she puts them away. It's like, why do I always have to wash them? Nobody's saying that and arguing over the stupid small stuff.
Exactly. And like, I think we happen to be in a lot of situations where she actually likes to do that thing that I don't like to do, and vice versa. So certain things, like I guess you could say, naturally lined up well. But then I think that there's just like things that we've implemented, and who we are as people that probably match up well for a good marriage.
And do you think, Steven, in your generation, because I've seen it, I've been counseling young women for years. through my work, and I see these young women who are such a hurry and a rush to get married because their friends are getting married, or that's what they've always wanted to do all their life. And I look at them and say, listen, it's better to be single than wish you were. And the greatest decision you'll ever make is who you spend your life with. Eternity too, but that would be Jesus. But who are you going to spend your life with in a partnership of marriage? And do you find people of your generation, you were 22 when you met your wife, that's young. How did you know at 22, this is the one? And do you find that people your age or when you were in your 20s, were rushing into relationships, and now you're seeing the consequences of it with your friends now dropping off because they're getting divorced or breaking up?
Yeah, so we met when we were 19. Neither of us were anywhere near ready to be in a serious relationship. Kind of went off and did our own thing for 3 years. But for 3 years, I would tell all my friends, like, that is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. And she had like a boyfriend here and there, and I was going off playing football. And when we were 22, I kind of had hit a place in life where I felt like I was ready, and she was also single. And that's when I just, made a move.
You made it.
And so granted, we got married at 24, but it was, I think, enough things lined up. And as far as you're mentioning the rushing in, I think that does tend to happen in Christian circles a lot. Giselle, she went to Bible college, and so many of her friends that got married at Bible college are all divorced now. And I it's a bummer. But I do think a lot of it, sometimes it's pretty easy to over spiritualize things, and people get in this habit of like, find the person that God has like ordained you to be with, and then everything works out. And they don't line up in any practical sense in life, yeah. Personality wise, belief system wise, and that causes real problems.
Yeah, so
you want to be able to laugh.
They basically think, okay, we both love Jesus, let's get married. Do you think, 100% agree with everything you just said. It's so true. And we do over spiritualize so many things. Do you also think, because I've seen it in my practice of counseling, that young people, especially in the church, unfortunately, because of the way the church drills girls, do not have sex, you're going to hell. If you get pregnant, even Christian parents are saying, I'll throw you out, I'll get rid of you, you're going to be an embarrassment to our family, et cetera, et cetera. So these young people in the church, I see it more in the church, unfortunately, that are rushing to get married because either they gave in and had sex, or they are like, we gotta get married before, or if we have sex, we're going to hell. You know what I'm talking about? That mindset.
Oh, yeah.
You think that has a lot to do with it? Because you're saying Giselle's friends in Bible college were all rushing to get married. Was it a lot of times lust and temptation?
Oh yeah, I think that plays a huge role. And then I think just the naive nature of thinking that, if you make a decision because you in that moment believe that that's something God wants you to do, that the dominoes will just fall perfectly. And, we have a brain for a reason. Like, you're supposed to look at somebody and be attracted to them and be able to laugh with them. And there's all these other boxes that should be checked if you're going to spend the rest of your life with somebody.
Yeah. So 100% agree. I love that. I think that you're one of the things that not just young people that are divorced, as I am, different as you get older and you're single, we are just so scared of being alone. And I don't mean we, because I'm not. I've been single a long time. I'm not going to settle for anything less than God's best for me. But I'm also not going to just get married because I'm 58 and single. That's just stupid. I don't want to be divorced again. So, but I see so many people, even my age, doing that same thing. Well, gosh, I don't want to be alone. Well, you know what? You could end up alone anyway, or miserable. What would you rather do? And it's just not worth it. So I see a lot of people selling themselves short that way. Brandon and Kendra have one of those marriages like I see you guys have. And I love to see that they knew and they had things in common. You can have a few things opposite. That's good. You like to wash dishes. Giselle likes to put them away. But the major factors in a marriage, you better be on the same page. Because I've always said, when people tell me, well, he's so opposite of me, Victoria, but that's why we're so compatible. I'm like, you're not, though. The chemistry might be there, but opposites eventually they may attract, but they'll repel eventually. You've got to have certain things. As a Christian, I know we're both Christians. One of them needs to be Jesus, no question, but that can't be the only thing. I've gone out with Christian men and exactly what you just said. Okay, he loves Jesus, check. Okay, he hates this, X. So it can't be the one factor just to be with someone because they love Jesus. So that is a great point that you're making, because too many people are rushing, and that's why we're seeing the divorce, or we're seeing those saying, I'm never touching marriage and I'm not going to have children. I'm hearing a lot of people your age saying, I'm not going to bring children, as you talked about. So Steven, do you notice, I'm always curious about this. I notice with my generation of how we raised our kids to your generation of today. And I know you're around people who have children, your friends, and how they raise their children. Have you noticed, like I've noticed, that we give kids too many choices and treat them like miniature adults? Or is that my imagination?
Yeah, that's Giselle and I. So Giselle was a nanny for most of our marriage. She's not a nanny anymore. So we've had plenty of conversations about parenting, because we've been able to watch, not just the people she's worked with necessarily, but just kids as a whole.
Right.
And it is funny to watch adults try to reason with a 2-year-old child throwing a fit in Costco, which just happened last week to us. The entire store was staring. I mean, the whole store screaming 15 minutes. And they were trying to talk to the 2-year-old, like, as, an adult, and reason. It's just like, I'm all for, like, I plan to communicate with our kids. The opposite is also not a good case, where you treat them consistently like they're a child. Right. And, I want to reason with our kids and get them to start being analytical and all that. But when they're 2, come on, like, somebody's throwing a fit in a Costco, it's time to pick your child up and walk out, So yes, I think that's likely.
That's interesting to hear you say. I'm glad to hear you say that, because I see it everywhere as well. And I'm just blown away. Like, what? They're children. Children need boundaries. They need security, and they need the parent to be the parent, because they're not developed. Their brains are not developed to make a choice, even about what outfit do I want to wear. It just blows, or which, fruit do you want to eat? It just blows my mind. So I have definitely seen a difference. And I honestly think we're going to pay for it in the next 5 to 10 years. I had a doctor, a nutritionist, which will be a great segue into what I want to talk to you about with health and fitness. But I had him, we were having a interview talking, and he said he is seeing more young 7, 8-year-olds in his office getting therapy for eating disorders, because of the way this generation is feeding their children, not allowing them any balance at all. It's this way. We're not eating that. We're not eating, or, I've seen it. I've seen it myself, but he was saying it's going to get worse. These children are hiding candy. They're hiding food. They're gouging it before mom and dad see, because they're so afraid this is so bad. And so I just believe, and I know balance, that word gets thrown around a lot, but I do believe in balance, especially when it comes to eating. And I think that when we deny our kids, whether it's eating, whether it's whatever, they're going to go to the extreme. And 7-year-olds, Steven, parents having to take their 7-year-olds for therapy with eating disorders. He said, I've never seen this in my practice ever, like I have the last several years. And it is this generation and how they feed their kids. Basically, at one point, he said some of them basically feed their kids grass. I mean, they make these kids eat this food. They are children who part of growing is enjoying different foods. That's part of growing. So let's talk about health, because I've been someone, Steven, in my lifetime that doesn't eat fruits and vegetables my entire life. And I've always been thin. So of course, my daughter, Tawny, whom you know, is a nurse, would say, Mom, just because you're thin doesn't mean you're healthy. You've got to start eating better. So back in September, I made a choice. I just got sick and tired of feeling gross. And no one could tell I gained weight, but I'd gained about 20 pounds, but I hid it well. And no one no one could tell. Every time I'd say I need to lose a little weight, oh, shut up. You're one of those skinny girls who thinks you need to lose weight. And my joke would be, yeah, well, you don't see me naked. Okay. So just shut up and sit down. But about back in September, I hired a coach because I thought I've tried this on my own. So I hired a coach who taught me what I never understood, Stephen, which was learning how to eat to live, not live to eat. And I would hear that, Stephen, in the past and go, what the heck what are they talking about? I just like to eat. Give me my Cheetos, who cares? But now I get it. And my body now craves broccoli. Who would have thought? Tawny came over one day and I was making grilled chicken and broccoli. I hadn't told her yet I hired this coach. And she goes, who's coming over for lunch? I said, nobody. Well, who's that for? Me. You don't eat broccoli. So it has changed my life. I've lost 23 pounds. Wow. I feel better. I mean, it's changed everything. So let's talk about that. I know you played football. You're an athlete. You thought that from the age of 8, you were going to be a professional football player. That was your goal and your dream. And that changed, I guess. You can talk about that. But talk about how that also plays into your life. Because I think knowing your dad, your dad has been pretty much a healthy guy, and your mom all your life. So they probably instilled that in you is what I'm guessing. But let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you say that because it's, there's this idea of getting in shape or a lot of people, it's fat loss. For you, you lost 23 pounds. You went right to, I'm sure there was tactics, and I know I'm sure there was a specific meal plan, but the first thing that you mentioned that was a heavy hitter was, live to eat, or eat to live, don't live to eat, which is more on the psychological side, which is funny. It's like physiology plays a role, of course, and then psychology. Like a perfect example is sometimes we just eat because we think we're hungry, but we're not actually hungry. And a good litmus test for that is like, do you want a plain chicken breast right now? If you do, you might actually be hungry. But sometimes if it's just like you want to reach in for salty chips or whatever, that's probably psychological hunger more than anything else. So I think about those things, and I think the role that nutrition has played is, there's several, but I think just physical health, it's impossible for it not to have an impact in other areas of your life, whether it's your marriage, your work performance. How you eat and how you live throughout the day dictates how you sleep. How you sleep dictates your energy levels the next day, and it's a cycle. And every input affects something. And so I've just over the years tried to, prioritize and figure out what works best, and what works best for most people. And it's just a passion of mine.
Yeah. So was it always there, this health passion to help others, or how did you come about that? I mean, did you meet someone one day and you just thought, I got to help you? Tell me about that.
I've always been interested. I think it started with performance training because I wanted to be a better football player. So from the time I was in high school, started reading, studying physiology and exercise science. And then that kind of bleeds into, you start to go, wow, nutrition kind of is a big deal if I want to be better on the field. So then you go down that route. And then obviously trying to play NFL. And now I'm in the field of sports science. So I think just most of my life has pointed in that direction. And because of that, because I'm just like the weird guy that studies all this stuff all the time, I end up being the, friends will text with questions. And I kind of started just going, you know what, maybe I should just start talking about it on a podcast or something, because then instead of answering the same question 500 times, I can just send somebody the podcast episode. And I just like doing it. I love, it's probably one of the most rewarding things when somebody, whether it's, directly associated with fat loss or whatever else, but when somebody lets you know that a certain tactical or strategy that you gave them made a material impact on their life, that's the coolest thing for me.
Which is another great segue into your podcast. Tell everybody about your podcast, because I love that you did that. It's kind of like I get questions all the time on the pro-life issue, because as you know, I've been a pro-life leader for 26 years. So that's why when I was asked, hey, will you just do this little podcast and answer questions people have, and more people will hear your answers than if they're not following you, or et cetera. So that's what you've decided to do. So, Stephen, tell us about the podcast that you host, why you started it, and what people can expect, and also where they can find it.
Yeah, so the podcast is called Momentum with Steven Borden. I started it because I think a lot of people aren't, and this was myself included, aren't doing the things that maybe they want to be doing or know that they should be doing in life, whether that's getting in better shape, starting a business, starting a YouTube channel or a podcast, learning a new language, meeting people. There's things that don't have deadlines, which we tend to push off. And I think there can be many psychological reasons why somebody maybe is or is not doing the things that they know that they should be doing, or that lead them towards the life that they actually want. And I don't try to dive into psychology, or I guess I don't try to play psychiatrist. What I know though is that action generates momentum, and action is the only strategy that I know for a fact can get you towards where you want to go. So that's the hang up, is like, how do we get people to take action and start building habits that shift the trajectory towards where they actually want to land.
And it really is a paradigm shift, Stephen. For me, I've just come out of it. Back in September, I just finally got sick and tired of feeling gross. And it wasn't from the years of Tawny saying, "Mommy, please get healthier." It wasn't of the last few years putting on a little extra weight and just not caring. Or like you said about eating, I would be in bed at 9-10 o'clock at night and think, gosh, those ice cream sandwiches I bought for the grandkids sound good right now, and go and eat them. And one of the things that my coach did was he had me for the first 10 days, everything I ate, whatever I did, he didn't start me on the program. He said, I need you to send me a picture of every single thing that you put in your mouth this week. And he was starting already the training. I didn't know it. And for me, I would look and go, oh my gosh, this is what I ate today. And then when he called me and we had our next conference call, if you will, before I kicked in and started, he said, I'm going to tell you why you can't lose weight. Why? Because I'm eating Cheetos and ice cream at night? No, that's part of it, of course. He said, you don't eat enough. You are wondering why you're not losing weight. It's because you're not eating enough. And when you go to sleep at night, your body is, because of what you eat, it's eating away your muscle instead of fat. You're not in fat burning. So we're going to change, and I'm going to change how you view food and teach you how to eat. And whenever I said to him, can I eat broccoli? Because he asked me about the vegetables. I was like, I don't eat vegetables. So if you're going to tell me I got to eat vegetables, I'm not sending you my check. I'm just not doing it. And he said, can you give me 2 vegetables you can eat? I said, okay, I can force myself to eat broccoli as long as it's smothered in cheese and green beans. Well, those aren't on my list, Victoria, but I'm going to let you do them because you're an anomaly. But his precursor was, when you eat the broccoli, don't put that yellow crap on it. You can do white cheddar cheese, and not a lot. We're going to trick your brain into believing it's getting all that cheese. And I'm telling you, Stephen, today I eat broccoli with nothing.
That's okay.
It literally does change your brain when we start. But why do you think people don't want to take the step to do things? Why? We sit around complaining about our life, about whether we have a negative attitude, whether we're overweight, whether we're out of shape, not healthy, whatever it is, anything. I'm at a job I hate. I've been here for years and years. Why do we do that? Why do you think, Stephen? And I have my idea, but I want to hear yours.
So really, you're a super good example here. Was it September you said that you?
September of last year.
Okay. So in September, I'm curious, you obviously in the beginning, when he's having you do all these things, broccoli alone was like, what is that? Why I don't do this? This is not who I am. Probably most of the decisions you were making were it required a lot of you. And I'm curious now, it is end of July. Does it require the same amount of effort, or like you just said, like, is it just kind of like you get up and you make your food? Like, it's just part of your day. It's just part of your life.
It's part of my life, and it doesn't take much. It's actually less. And the thing is, I never used to eat breakfast. I didn't realize how important that is. and I would just skip it and be like, I got to lose some weight if I don't eat but one meal a day. And it was ridiculous. I understand now what I was doing to my body, but now it's like, I enjoy cooking. I mean, and I never would cook because it's just me. So I didn't want food to go to waste. So I'd be like, I'll just go grab something at the restaurant and I'll eat that for a couple of days. I enjoy cooking today. I enjoy thinking about what I'm going to cook. So it has literally made my life better. No question. I used to love sodas. I'd have an addiction to Coca-Cola. I mean, I wouldn't have one every day, but I'd crave one and have to go buy one. Now I'm drinking Zevia and they're delicious. And what's funny, Stephen, is people will take a drink and go, that's gross. I'm like, it's delicious to me. My taste buds have changed. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but in my coffee, I'm not joking, this much of it was creamer. And I put sugar as well, not raw sugar, the real sugar. And then my coffee. And I can remember my son-in-law, Chad, one time, he picked up the coffee cup because we had the same kinds. He spit it everywhere and said, how do you drink that? Now I put this much creamer and I put one stevia in the raw, and it is a yummy treat. So it's crazy to me. If you had told me before September, Stephen, Victoria, if you'll do this, I went, whatever. What happened for me was I saw a friend who was talking about going through this journey, and her body, her mindset, everything had changed. And I texted her and said, what did you do? This guy has changed my life. Send me his number. So is that what people do, Stephen, with you? Do they get in touch with you? Do they hire you to help them on a workout plan, an eating plan? Is that something that you offer?
I don't as much anymore. I would love to. Just time wise, the constraint is I just don't have the time to do like one-on-one. That's partially not true. I try to help people when I can. It's not like a service that I charge for or anything like that.
Okay. So your podcast then basically is an educational tool to do that for the masses.
Yeah, it's about exactly what you just did, which is like, in the beginning you had to push, but now you're almost kind of pulled by just who you are. So it's about that first like, how can we get people to just push enough to develop enough of internal structure of who they are to where it actually pulls you, whether it's you want to lose weight or you want to do something else. I think like you're just the perfect example of that.
Stephen, just today I was somewhere and they bought this big bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, which, by the way, oh man, that's finger licking good, let me tell you. and they offered me chicken, and I was about a 10-minute drive from home where I knew I had healthier food waiting for me that I could cook. And I didn't eat the chicken. And I got to tell you, I was tempted, but I thought, Vic, you're going to feel like crap if you eat that greasy crap, and you're going to regret it. Why beat yourself up for the rest of the day? So I drove home and had my lunch, but I got to tell you, driving home, I thought, who are you? I mean, the first week too, I can remember having a little bit of anxiety, and I texted Tony, my coach, at 11:30 at night. And he's in Florida. I'm in Nashville. So we're an hour. I didn't expect him to respond. I said, I'm really struggling. It was the 5th day in. And he called me. He said, what's going on? I said, I was like really, I don't want to say I was having a panic attack, but I was definitely feeling some anxiety. And I told him, are you telling me I can never have a Coke again? I can never have a Reese cup again. I can never eat Cheetos again. Is that what you're telling me? Because I'm a chip girl. I'm not really a chocolate. I'm a chip girl, salty. And he's like, okay, first of all, take a deep breath and you need to calm down. He said, second of all, that is not what I told you. But what I did tell you is for the next 90 days, you have to commit to doing what I tell you to eat. After the 90 days, we will start refeeding you. He knew. Now I know that even when he said those words, he's thinking in the back of his mind, but in 90 days, babe, you ain't going to want that crap. And he was right. I haven't had a soda since before September, because a month before I was like, I got to stop drinking these sodas. I have not had a Coke in all this time. I've sat around and had a Cheeto. I just don't. It's like eating plastic to me now. So my mind has changed. And people still, friends that I'll run into, we have lunch. Why are you ordering broccoli? That is how much everyone knew. Vic is so skinny, but we don't know how because she eats crap. But not anymore. I am a new woman. So what you're doing with educating people, Stephen, well, you said you love to help people. Tony's the same way. I'm the same way in the work that I do with women who've chosen abortion. I'm able to counsel them, or women who are in a crisis pregnancy, and help them make a better decision than abortion, because I know what they're faced if they do. Plus, I believe all lives matter. And so I get that feeling of there's a fulfillment to helping other people. And the Bible says it's better to give than receive. And it really is. And some people don't understand that, but it truly is. And I think 7 of my friends have hired Tony since I started the program, because they saw me. They see, even if they hadn't noticed the weight, which they do now, they're like, I guess you did, because your faces, you do look thinner. You look healthier. But they've said the fact that you're eating the way you're eating and enjoying it is enough for me to write the guy a check. So they've hired him, and now their lives have been forever changed. So it makes me feel good that because I started on the journey, now my friends are starting on the journey.
So cool. That's really cool.
Isn't it? Well, anything else you want to say? Talk about your podcast. I want people to go to Momentum Podcast. They can find you everywhere, I'm assuming.
Yeah. All platforms, all podcast platforms.
And then you're on Instagram, and it's Steven, Steven Borden. We'll make sure and have that in on this podcast, so people know how to get in touch with you. I'll have you send me all of those, all your stuff, and we'll make sure to put it on this podcast. You guys, I really hope that you're encouraged by listening to Steven, this young 30-year-old guy. I wish his wife would have joined us, but trust me, just go to their Instagram and see these people. They're just. I'm not just trying to. I look at Kendra and Brandon the same way. That beautiful island couple. It's like all 4 of you could be on the cover of magazines everywhere.
You can't let people watch the video. The bar's been set too high. They're going to be disappointed when they get on. Just listen to the audio version.
You guys are beautiful people on the inside and out, and that's what makes you even more beautiful, Steven. So thank you for coming on here and sharing with us. And I love getting your perspective from a 30-year-old guy when it comes to parenting and marriage and all of those things, because I do think that people need to be encouraged that there is a generation of people like you that are saying marriage is pretty awesome. And it is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And let's have more kids so we can raise up and mold children to make a difference in the world. And that maybe the bad that we see, we can combat that with raising great kids who want to make a difference. And then getting healthier and helping people to do that and shift their mindset. So thank you for that, Steven. It has been great. It's been a pleasure. And it's been nice knowing you for so many years as this little cute boy hanging around with holding on to your mom Sue's leg, which, by the way, send my best to her. I love your mom. She is a gem. She is one of a kind. That woman is one of my favorite people on the planet. So thank you so much, Steven. It was great to have you. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
So you guys, that was Steven Borden. We will make sure that you have every way to get in touch with him and listen to his podcast, Momentum. I just am so excited and encouraged when I see people like Steven and his wife and speaking out like that and knowing the mindset that they're in. I think it makes a big difference. And it's going to make a big difference in our future for this country. Have a great day. That's what was on my mind today.